So the real story here isn't escalation, it's management, how systems respond to pressure without breaking under it. That applies to military posture, financial markets, and the broader network of global trade that connects them. Each piece plays a role, and each adjustment sends signals that others interpret and act upon in real time. Understanding those signals is key not just for policymakers but for anyone trying to navigate today's economic landscape, because the impact of these dynamics doesn't stay overseas, it shows up in fuel prices, shipping costs, and investment returns. It becomes part of everyday economic reality even if the underlying causes feel distant or abstract. That's the nature of interconnected systems. Local actions can have global consequences, especially in critical regions. And the Strait of Hormuz remains one of the most critical of all, not because of constant crisis but because of constant importance. Its role doesn't change even when headlines fade, and that's what makes it worth watching over the long term, because long-term importance is what drives sustained attention from both governments and markets alike. Short-term events may come and go, but structural relevance keeps certain regions permanently in focus. And that focus shapes decisions from military deployments to capital allocation across industries and sectors. In that sense, this is not just a regional story, it's part of a much larger system that affects global stability, a system where energy security and finance are deeply interconnected in ways that are not always immediately visible. But once you see the connections, the pattern becomes clearer and the signals become easier to interpret over time. That clarity is what allows both strategists and investors to operate with confidence even in uncertain environments. Not because uncertainty disappears, but because it becomes something that can be measured and managed effectively, and management, not elimination, is the real objective when dealing with complex global systems. That's true for military strategy, and it's just as true for financial decision-making at every level, because in both worlds success depends on staying prepared without overreacting to every new development. That balance is what keeps systems stable even when conditions are far from ideal beneath the surface. And it's what allows progress to continue even in environments where tension never fully disappears. In that context, current developments are not a break from the norm, they are part of an ongoing pattern. A pattern of adjustment, response, and recalibration that defines how global systems operate over time. Understanding that pattern is more valuable than reacting to any single moment within it. Because moments pass but patterns persist, and patterns are what shape long-term outcomes. That's where real insight comes from, not from isolated events but from how those events fit into a broader structure. And right now that structure remains intact even as it continues to adapt to new pressures and challenges. That adaptability is a strength both for global systems and for those who understand how to navigate them effectively, because adaptability creates resilience, and resilience is what allows systems to keep functioning under stress. So while attention may rise and fall, the underlying dynamics remain consistent, shaped by strategy, economics, and geography, and those dynamics will continue to influence decisions long after any single headline fades from public view. That's why this story matters, not for what it suggests today but for what it represents over the long term. A reminder that stability is maintained, not assumed, especially in regions where so much is at stake, and that maintaining stability requires constant effort, coordination, and awareness from multiple players involved. It's not dramatic, it's not sudden, but it's essential to keeping global systems moving forward without disruption. And in the end, that's what this comes down to: movement, continuity, and the ability to manage risk effectively, because when those elements are in place, even high-risk environments can remain functional over time. And when they're not, the effects are felt quickly, not just locally but across the global economy. That's the real significance of places like the Strait of Hormuz, not constant crisis but constant importance. And that importance ensures it will remain a focal point for both strategy and investment decisions moving forward, because as long as global trade depends on key transit routes, those routes will shape the flow of both goods and capital, and understanding that flow is what separates informed perspectives from reactive ones in an increasingly complex world. So instead of focusing on extremes, the smarter approach is to watch pattern signals and responses over time, because that's where the real story is, not in sudden shifts but in how systems adapt without breaking. And right now, adaptation is exactly what we're seeing: steady, measured, and designed to maintain balance. It may not grab attention the way headlines do, but it's far more important in shaping long-term outcomes, because long-term outcomes are what ultimately define both geopolitical stability and financial performance. And those outcomes are built step by step through decisions that prioritize control over chaos. In the end, this isn't about escalation, it's about maintaining a system that the world depends on every single day. Back on the ground, emergency response teams move quickly to assess damage and stabilize affected areas across the city. Fire crews, medical teams, and security forces coordinate efforts to reach impacted locations as safely and efficiently as possible. Damaged infrastructure can slow response times, especially when debris blocks key roads and access routes. Power outages in certain areas add complexity, making communication and coordination more difficult during early response. Hospitals activate emergency protocols to handle incoming casualties and manage limited resources effectively. Medical staff prioritize treatment based on severity, a process known as triage, which is critical in high-pressure situations. Communication systems often face heavy strain as civilians attempt to contact family members and authorities. Despite these challenges, rapid coordination helps prevent further complications and supports recovery efforts. Civilian cooperation plays a major role in how effectively a city responds to such incidents. Following shelter guidelines and avoiding restricted areas allows emergency teams to operate more efficiently. Public awareness and preparedness significantly reduce overall risk during high-alert situations like this. In Israel, regular drills and public education contribute to a high level of readiness among civilians. That level of preparation is a key factor in limiting casualties during large-scale attacks. Meanwhile, analysts begin examining the technical aspects of the missile barrage in detail. This includes studying launch timing, trajectory patterns, and interception outcomes. Each data point provides insight into both capability and intent behind the operation. Patterns in missile deployment can reveal whether targets were strategic or broadly distributed. A distributed pattern suggests a focus on disruption rather than a single high-value objective. This aligns with strategies designed to create widespread impact rather than concentrated damage. Analysts also evaluate how defense systems performed under pressure during the event. Interception rates, response time, and system coordination are all closely reviewed. These findings can influence future upgrades and adjustments to defense strategies. At the same time, political leaders assess the broader implications of the incident. Decisions made in the aftermath can shape whether tensions escalate or stabilize. Diplomatic communication often increases during these periods to prevent misunderstandings. Behind the scenes, multiple channels may be active to reduce the risk of further conflict. Public statements, however, are usually more measured and carefully worded. Messaging is designed to maintain credibility while avoiding unnecessary escalation. This balance is critical in managing both domestic and international expectations. The situation also draws attention from global organizations and allied governments. Many calls for restraint and emphasize the importance of de-escalation strategies. These responses reflect concern about potential regional instability if tensions continue to rise. Markets continue to monitor developments closely, reacting to each new update. Even small changes in tone or activity can influence investor behavior significantly. This creates a feedback loop where perception impacts financial outcomes in real time. As the situation evolves, attention shifts toward potential next steps by both sides. Military analysts consider various scenarios, including escalation or controlled de-escalation. Each scenario carries different risks and potential consequences for the region. Escalation could involve additional strikes or broader engagement across multiple areas. De-escalation would likely involve diplomatic efforts and reduced military activity. History shows that outcomes depend heavily on decisions made shortly after initial events. Timing, communication, and restraint all play important roles in shaping what follows. For now, both sides appear to be maintaining a high level of alert without immediate expansion. This suggests a cautious approach as leaders assess the situation more fully. Maintaining control at this stage is critical to preventing unintended consequences. Even small miscalculations can lead to rapid escalation in complex environments like this. That is why intelligence gathering and analysis continue around the clock. Surveillance systems monitor activity closely to detect any signs of further developments. Early detection allows for faster response and better preparation if needed. This constant monitoring is a standard part of modern defense strategy. Meanwhile, recovery efforts continue in affected areas on the ground. Debris is cleared, infrastructure is repaired, and essential services are gradually restored. These efforts help communities return to a sense of normalcy after disruption. However, the psychological impact often lasts longer than physical damage. Experiences like these can influence public perception and behavior over time. Governments may introduce additional support measures to address these effects. Counseling services and community support programs are often part of recovery plans. These steps help rebuild confidence and stability within affected populations. From a broader perspective, events like this can reshape regional dynamics. They influence how countries position themselves politically and strategically. Alliances may be strengthened or reassessed based on recent developments. This adds another layer of complexity to an already sensitive situation. Global powers continue to observe closely, considering their own interests and responses. Strategic patience is often preferred over immediate reaction in uncertain scenarios. This allows time for clearer information and more accurate assessments. In the United States, policymakers track these developments carefully. Decisions are based on both immediate risks and long-term strategic goals. This includes evaluating military readiness and diplomatic engagement options. Public communication also plays a role in shaping perception and maintaining confidence. Transparency is balanced with the need to protect sensitive information. As more details become available, a clearer picture of the event will emerge. Damage assessments, response evaluations, and intelligence analysis all contribute to this understanding. These insights help inform future planning and preparedness efforts. They also shape how similar situations may be handled in the future. For now, the situation remains fluid and subject to change. New information can shift perspectives quickly as events continue to unfold. That is why continuous monitoring and analysis are essential. Staying informed helps individuals and institutions respond appropriately. It also reduces the impact of misinformation or incomplete narratives. In complex situations, clarity develops over time rather than instantly. The key is to focus on verified information and credible sources. This approach supports better understanding and more informed decision-making. As tensions remain elevated, caution continues to guide actions on all sides. Preventing further escalation is a priority for both regional and global actors. The coming days will be critical in determining the direction of events. Observers will be watching for signals of either escalation or stabilization. Each development will add context to an already complex situation. For now, the focus remains on managing risk and maintaining control. That balance will shape how this moment is remembered and understood. Events like this often become turning points in broader geopolitical dynamics. They redefine expectations and influence future strategies moving forward. This is why careful analysis is essential in understanding their significance. Immediate reactions can differ from long-term interpretations. Over time, patterns and outcomes become clearer to observers. For now, uncertainty remains a defining feature of the situation. That uncertainty keeps global attention focused on what happens next. Every decision carries weight in shaping the next phase of events. The situation continues to evolve with each passing moment. And as it does, the importance of measured response becomes even more clear. Because in moments like this, what happens next matters just as much as what already happened.